Hello there. It has indeed been some time since I last played some Ironsworn, since we last had an adventure with our bitter little elf Gahena. In part that's because of all sorts of life stuff that's been going on at the moment, that kind of thing. But then at Christmas time, I put in a request with Santa and gifted a new set of dice. And so what better time to play with some new iron dice, but with some Ironsworn. So it should be fun. However, some bad news. It has been so long, like many months since I've been playing, and I have at the moment lost track of Gahena's character sheet. So as best I can, I've recreated her stats from memory. I remember that she had the sort of, she had the devotion stat. She did technically have a dog companion, but that's currently up on the surface. And also she was able to sort of, not scry, what was that one called? I can't exactly remember, but it was the one where she's able to discern people's locations and stuff if she's got a sample of their blood. And based on the videos, I've established roughly where she's up to in her main vows, and so hopefully that should be able to work for tonight. But look, get yourself comfortable, get yourself a nice glass of something. It was quite dramatic last time, and let's just see where things go from here, when in the dark, in this deep chasm, a monstrous cry rings out. So Gahena, the elf, the bitter elf trying to find a new home, who's just had a vision of a possible future for her, maybe her aunt, mother-in-law, I'm not sure. Tristan, the optimistic potter, and Becca, along with her other minor friends, but Becca's injured, are in this dark place and they need to get out of here. Not just because they just need to survive, but there's possibly something else down here in Raven's Rest, down near this monolith. They already know that these tunnels are quite psychedelic. They have some weird effects on your mind, but also there's this animal cry that has rung out. So with that threat ringing still in their ears, they're going to search the cavern again, not for different exits, that's what they did last time, but amongst the miners and their equipment to see if they have any weapons. At this point, both Tristan and Gahena have no weapons whatsoever. Their pickaxes broke, they don't really have any knives, they left the dog up on the top of the surface. But do the miners have anything that might help them? So let's see if we can secure advantage that way. Let's find out. And the answer is a decided no. Well, that's a great way to start with those dice. They don't have any weapons, and I'm not going to say that their assumptions betray them, that they paid the price. Look, we already know that Becca has a broken leg, and they barely have anything to really sort of splint her up with. So she's in a bad way. They haven't really got any even supplies to lift her out of the hole. They're going to have to do this all basically by brute strength and face whatever this thing in the dark is, just mano a mano. Okay, so first things first. Gahena, seeing that they have no weapons, she does take charge and she starts issuing orders. The other miners, they have no idea what's going on with her. She just went out and had this weird little experience. She's an elf as well, which we've established is a bit of a problem for these sort of characters. But at the moment, they're going to let her keep going, and we'll just keep that in the back of our mind that they're a little bit dubious of these strangers, but they're there to save them, so you know. So the first things first is to get out of this little cavern. So Tristan climbs back up through the hole, he jumps through, and they start, maybe one of the other miners goes up there with them. And now they're going to try and get Becca up through the hole. So they're working together. I'll give a little +1 to my edge, so that's going to be +2 facing danger if they try to maneuver her carefully out of the hole. They're successful, but it takes ages, and the tension is just building. They heard that thing out the dark. No one is addressing it. They're all just sort of giving each other the side eye, but they have to very carefully lift Becca out of this hole. And they're losing a lot of time. We're going to say that they lose some momentum, but they have indeed managed to sort of work her out through the shaft, and then the others follow. Now, I think because the time has been delayed, you make use of the advanced threat rolls that exist within sort of the Ironsworn stuff. It's not actually in the free supplement, at least not when I got it. I found it and I just used it later. Basically, if things delay or go wrong, then whatever's out in the dark with us is going to be slowly, possibly going to have a go at us. So the way I play it, basically, if the threat overtakes my progress track, that threat suddenly strikes. And considering we've only made 1 progress, that can't be good. So really I need to get under 30. 39. So I'm imagining that as they manage to get Becca up through that little hole and the others climb through, there's a sense of relief. There's a sense of relief that, oh, okay, we got it through. Let's do this. Let's start moving forwards. When suddenly out of the dark, something grabs one of the other miners. Now, it's a bit of a cop-out. These miners are at the moment acting like red shirts. As I might move forwards, I might roll on determining who might get got. But for now, just indulge me. One of the miners gets got. But what does he get got by? Now, Ironsworn has an excellent collection of creatures and monsters and ghouls that can be causing problems for your characters. But A, because I haven't printed that out yet, and B, let's make this creature a little bit more unknown and mysterious. What we're going to do is going to roll on the location chart, and I'm going to be rolling on this sort of creature location chart. Basically, I'm going to amalgamate these two together. At least that's the first impression that these guys are going to get of whatever this thing is that is swooping out of the dark. Okay. Now, what Gahena sees at first kind of confuses her. As she looks into that dim lamplight they've got from their little oil lamps, they managed to light them with Tristan and Gahena's supplies. In that small field of light, she just sees what looks like, it looked at first like a boulder or a rock just falling down on this miner's shoulders. But what was very strange about this boulder wasn't just that it thudded on him and fell off, but rather that the boulders, the rocks themselves, seemed to clamp on either side of this miner's chest. And before the spray of blood could just burst from his body, he was pulled back into the darkness. Again, her boulders was the texture, the consistency that she saw, but she would swear that whatever this thing was, it also had something of it that reminded her of a serpent's head. Okay, so what did she do? Now, I just remembered though, it wasn't lamplight that's lighting this room. At the moment, it's actually the glow of that strange pool. Remember the strange pool? It did have healing qualities, but only if you knew the right sort of little mosses and brackens around the pool, which fortunately Gahena did. But I think like all the others, her initial reaction is just going to be pure fight or flight, and freeze potentially. But the question is, what kind of person is Gahena? Is he going to try and fight whatever's just emerged from the dark, or is she going to try and run from it? We know she's bitter. We know she's stubborn. She's got a higher iron stat. She's someone that resists, that persists. And she hasn't abandoned Naomi, so I don't think she would abandon Becca now. So I know this is complete madness, but I think what she would do is she'd position herself in front of Becca, who would imagine is sort of like lying on the ground. She's screaming at what she just saw, her friend just taken away. But then Gahena would take that little oil lamp and she's going to hurl it in the direction of whatever this thing was. Now, maybe to hurt it, maybe, but in all honesty, she actually kind of just wants, she doesn't want to hurt it. But also, she sort of knows that if she can throw the flame that way, maybe the oil will catch on fire, and she might be able to get a better look at this thing. Now, it's not so much, in this case, a gather information, because she is literally just throwing this thing at her, just trying to hurt it as well. So we're going to call this a face danger. And sadly, I do think edge is appropriate, even though that's not necessarily her strength. Here we go, +1 with edge. It's not too bad. It's my total is a 6 against a 3 and a 6. Okay, because we've succeeded, I'm going to say that as this thing hits this creature, two things occur. Firstly, it does indeed seem to harm this thing in some way. It's shocked, or maybe it's hurt, I don't know, but it reels back a little bit, which is a positive. But also, its form is indeed revealed, and that's not entirely a positive. As Gahena looks at this thing, her mind is only made all the more confused. It is stone. It is definitely stone. The little bit of oil burning on it burns off. It doesn't seem to hurt it. It must have just been shock more than anything else that made this thing rear. But it's moving. It's alive. Its long tentacled body now dripping with a little bit of blood, with the body of this miner lying at its feet. It's long and sinewy. It's thick. It's big and round. It's not like gargantuan, but it is a beastie looking creature. It's long. It has like one little set of legs that do stick out. And oddly, there's these protrusions coming out of this serpent's back. Like, as she looks at them at first, she can't make heads or tails of it. But then slowly, as it sort of like moves and reels and then begins to sort of gather itself again, she sees that these were once or could be wings. Waven's Rest. This place is called Waven's Rest after all. So I rolled, what was it? A Ridge, and I rolled Raven. I always say that wrong. That's what this place is literally called. It's a Waven. I'm going to say Waven from now on, by the way. But I thought just to mix it up a little bit, because I got Ridge, we'll say that this thing is a stone. It's like a moving, living statue. And as Gahena looks at this thing and she sees, like, she doesn't understand it. Again, like, that's the best way that she could describe it in her mind. But basically she sees that this is a big creature. They have no weapons. The stress is a bit much. So the issue is they can't just run. Becca has a broken leg. The miners are weak. Oh, what does Gahena do? I think she's going to do the only thing that she can quickly think to do in the spur of the moment. She knows that these guys need to get her out, so the Waven needs to be distracted. So like that, Gahena just leaps at this creature. She throws herself at it. Not its head, obviously, but she throws it, trying a bit lower down around its neck. Maybe she might die. But if she can distract it, she might give these guys a chance to get out with Becca. So Gahena screams, run, and she tackles this thing. +2 iron. It's not bad. As she strikes this thing, she is able indeed to sort of push it. And again, this creature has never had anything actually fight it in a long time. I don't know if it's been trapped down here, if it's connected to the monolith, I don't know. But it's basically just woken up. And it's had this thing thrown at it. It's had this little crazy elf just jump at it. And so it's just a little bit reeling, but as she hits it, it's a big rock monster. So it doesn't move all that much, and she feels the blow. It's literally it just needs to orientate itself, and then it will have a go at Gahena. All she can do now, I don't know, is try and push this thing away from her. Again, she has no weapons. This thing's going to be beastie strong, so I have it out, it's going to be fine. Look, so I'm going to imagine at this point, Tristan, noble Tristan, would probably step in. We've seen so far he's a good man, and that he's trying his best. And seeing this person who's also trying their best just throw themselves at this creature, he can't let her do that alone. So I'm going to say the two of them together are going to suffer this clash roll. As this thing comes down to have a go, he's come in as well to try and catch it as well. It's trying to strike Gahena, but Tristan's going to come in and try and also help defend her and fend off this big rocky jaw. Once again, iron, but now +3 with Tristan's help. The two of them are indeed able just to sort of shove this thing against the wall. Again, it didn't expect this second blow. This seems a very unexpected Waven. But as they both slam on this thing, they manage to sort of like turn its attack around, and it actually begins to chip and break. The stone is not completely impregnable. And as it sort of like, as it's hurt itself, it begins to writhe and grind itself as it sort of like pulls itself away, giving the two a moment. I think at this point, Gahena screams at Tristan, run, go, I will stop, I'll hold this thing off as long as I can. Tristan looks back at her. He is totally willing to make the same sacrifice. So I'm gonna say this is a compel. Gehena's quick, she's pretty witty. She's probably seen that he's keen to help. And so she spins it specifically as, you have to help the others. Bit of manipulation there. So that's her heart in play, +2. Does she persuade Tristan? No, it is a miss. Now, basically, this means that Tristan is like, no, you go, you made the iron vow. Now, obviously, this failure to compel is meant to come with a sore price. Look, let's just leave it at narrative. Basically, Tristan says, no, you go, you swore the vow. And that's true. But in that moment, her mind flashed back to Naomi. Back to her, alone, without her. And Gahena is a bit like, for a moment, just for a moment, yeah, like, you die in this dark hole, I've got someone who depends on me. But just like that, that thought is gone. She realizes that, again, it's all very, I know this is all very quick, but this, you know, the rate of her mind firing at the moment. He probably has people who care about her at home, him at home as well. The pang of guilt just briefly emerges, but in the end, she just goes anyway. So with what strength she has, she runs across to Becca. She scoops up under the arms. The others have already begun to try to move her and get her going. But she comes in, she is just stronger at the moment than these sort of weak trapped miners. And they begin to barrel towards that corridor that exits the place. The corridor that had weird psychological effects, but we'll deal with that in a sec. So is she able to move quickly and with strength carrying Becca effectively down this hallway, +2? Yes, very much yes. So she runs, and as she does so, she hears this sort of like animalistic cry, but with the sound of stone crunching, and Tristan shouting as well, the fighting behind her, but she doesn't need to ignore that. She does indeed manage to get a good lift on Becca, and they begin to quickly make their way down the corridor to escape. Tristan, what's gonna happen to Tristan? We'll just have to roll on his fate later, but for now they're barreling down this hallway. Again, as they run down, the strange little pictograms of people, are they people, are along this wall. Does she keep her wits about her? So she's remembering, she's holding on to the memory of what happened last time. She's also just barreling along, saying, move, 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 move. I'm gonna say the miners are in front of her. And move, she's just trying to, like, through force of will, just keep them moving forwards. But she herself needs to keep her mind clear. So she holds that memory of what happened last time. The picture of Tristan getting all addled and just dumping his stuff. She's holding that there, so that way she doesn't fall for it again. It's a strong hit. I don't know if it's the strategy, or I don't know, maybe this corridor is no longer having its effect, but she's able to hurtle down that corridor without anything going awry. They managed to get down to the other end of the corridor. There's the door that was sealed up, but they managed to get it open. And I think at this point, Gahena is going to stop and turn. She looks down the corridor. The last she saw of Tristan, he was facing her off against this stone raven creature. So she's gonna call back. She's basically just gonna say, we're out, run. And that's not entirely true. They've got to get up the ropes yet. Remember the ropes that came down through that shaft? And with Becca injured, that's gonna be a struggle, but I don't think that Gahena can just leave Tristan, loyal, good Tristan, on his own. So she is going to need to at least stop and call back and hope that maybe he'll hear her and run or something. So this is a face danger with heart. It's more hope than anything else. It's a weak hit. So I'm going to say that by some mad chance, Tristan then comes barreling around the corner. I don't know, he's managed to get himself loose. I'm going to say he's probably injured. He's there, like, I'm going to say, just for the sake of things, he's grasping his arm. Broken, dislocated, who knows. But he starts running down this corridor. He is indeed in one piece. However, because it's weak hit, this thing is following him. It is on his tail. We're losing momentum. Gahena thinks now, they're at this doorway. What if we can shut the doorway? Is this going to be enough to stop the Wyvern coming through? So she's going to look around for any sort of advantage that she can secure. There's the broken pickaxe, which was demolished when they tried to open this thing in the first place, but grabbing the shards of that, maybe like she can pull down some rocks. She's looking maybe if there's runes, maybe it's magically enchanted keeping this thing back. So yes, she's trying to like maybe gather information, but really it's to secure an advantage to stop this thing from coming in. Whether it's magic or whether it's rocks, she wants to see if she can Tristan come through, shut the door and stop this thing from coming through. So wit is 3. It's weak. She does indeed see that maybe if they can like shut the door and there's this sort of like a lintel of rocks that is sitting above the doorway. It wouldn't have fed in appropriately, but maybe if they can pull this down on top of the doorway as well, it might slow this thing down. So what she does is she tells two of the miners, weak as they are, to take Becca and begin heading down. She's like, you see this wall? Just follow this wall around and you will get to an exit, some ropes that will get you out of here. But she says to the third miner, I need you to shut this door. When Tristan comes through, you shut the door. And she herself quickly clambers up where the rocks are. As best she can with like the broken pickaxe, she sort of like wedges it into some bit of it. She sort of grasps onto it. The broken pickaxe won't really give her much of an advantage, but you know, just narratively, that's how she's going to be able to pull this thing down. But she sits and she waits, and the goal is to, again, the door, Tristan comes through, the door shuts, the rocks come down. That's a lot of moving parts. But for Gahena's part, it's just going to be pure strength that there's going to be. She's listening out for Tristan to come through and the guy to shut the door. So that's what they're doing. Here comes Tristan. There's no more time to make a plan. And with her iron, she pulls as she hears what she thinks is Tristan coming through the door. So with her iron, it's a miss. In that chaotic moment, the rocks fall, dust goes everywhere. Remember this hallway, there's some strange luminescence going on. So they actually can, it's like what lamplight they have is supercharged. But in the confusion, obviously the dust comes down and they can't really see anything. But as the dust settles and that luminescence begins to grow, there's quiet at first. There's just quiet. But as Gahena gets her wits about her, comes to a little bit, she sort of wakes and she looks. Tristan, where's Tristan? Rocks have come down. The door, it didn't close at the right time. That poor miner, he just wasn't there. But the rocks have come down, and she can see amongst that rubble, some of the rocks are indeed in a shape. The rocks have come square down on the Raven, the baby dragon, and it doesn't seem to be moving. And she's shocked, but a bit of hope. But then as she follows along the neck of this thing, she does indeed see that in the jaws of this thing's mouth is the torso of Tristan. There's blood obviously just all over his body, but worse than that, the rocks have also crushed him as well. Oh, Tristan. Is he still alive? Is there still a bit of life in him? Gahena's like, no. So she comes down and she sort of like tries to pry this thing's mouth open, but she hears a slight growl. This thing is a little bit alive. She then moves up closer to Tristan. Tristan! But he lies there. His eyes open, not moving, not breathing. The kind, the brave, the sacrificing Tristan is dead. Gahena starts to cry, no. Tears begin flooding from her eyes, and if in some future she's able to reflect on this moment, Tristan was a good man. He didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve to die. Her husband, Aiden, he didn't deserve to die either. Naomi, this bitter old woman, as foul as she is, she didn't deserve to lose her whole family. And in this moment, just grief upon grief upon grief wells up and just comes out of Gahena. Needless to say, her spirit is rocked. It's hanging by a thread at this stage. Tristan didn't. Gahena hears the groan of the miner that was meant to shut the door. Maybe he got sort of barreled over in all the rocks as well, but he's alive and he's in one piece. Look, Gahena just wants to quickly look. Is there anything on Tristan that she can take with her? I think it's likely. Yeah, so Tristan, we're going to say, has some sort of trinket around his neck, talisman, something like that. She breaks that off. She's going to take it with him. She can't get him out right now. She knows that they've still got to get Becca out, and she's injured. These miners aren't strong. They can't dig him out. Maybe they can dig him out later. Who knows? Maybe they can come down here with the other miners. The other miners, why did they help them? Anyway, they're going to try and get out. She takes the talisman to show that he died for this, but then she rushes across the other miner. She props him up, and the two of them begin to run. As they do, they hear continued movement of rock. The little rock dragon isn't dead. They make their way along the wall. They do indeed find that the others are there waiting at that weird chimney shaft that they came down in with the ropes. And they figure, well, maybe if we all need to get out of here quick, because that thing could still be going. So they think, well, what if we fashion like a harness or something to Becca, and we try and pull her up that way as we climb up, or something like that. So using their wits, Gahena and the others are going to try and sort this out. And it is good. So they do indeed manage to sort of secure this harness that holds Becca's body quite well. In fact, so much so that weak as she is, injured as she is, she actually might be able to sort of help, maybe push with her other leg as they all begin to and the others can then also help pull, and all of them can maybe try and wiggle out together. So they start to make their way out. They're climbing. I'm going to say that they can even start to see the light shining through the shaft that they entered in at the first place. And a dog bark, why not? There's a dog bark from Luna. What's the name of the dog? I can't even remember. I'll figure it out later. But the dog is barking and they think that's their way out. I think at this stage, it is the point in which we try to complete this little vow, this little quest. The vow, of course, being to get Becca out. She swore, Gahena swore that she would do that. So I'm trying to roll under an 8 at this stage with my 2 fate dice. Oh, fate, don't bite me now. It's already been sucky enough as it is. Like I said, they hear the dog barking above. They climb, but then another sound joins. They hear the rumbling of rock below them. Whatever this creature is, it's coming. So they all start to move faster. Even the diggers, the miners, their weakness is just being hit with adrenaline now, because this is just a nightmare situation. So all of them climb until finally they manage to reach the light. By this point, let's just say it's daytime. The light is streaming in. They pull up Becca, and even though she is injured, they are now rushing, and she kind of hurts herself a little bit. The dog is barking off his head. She's like, shush, shush, shush. And all of them together manage to get through the hole. They grab Becca. They can hear the rocks coming. They can hear that sound coming. They can even see in the light the movement now. It's coming closer and closer. They all manage to barrel out into this watery pool that was at the doorway. And then together they look around and think, we've just got to hide. We've just got to hide. So they all barrel around the corner, as they're all barreling everywhere apparently. And she's like, get over here, dogs. Get the dog over here. And they pull themselves over into a little rotten log that's nearby by this little pool, and they hide themselves. The dog sort of puffing and begins to bark a little bit. As they manage to find this spot where they can duck down and keep themselves low, all of a sudden this rocky claw reaches through the hole that they came through. Slowly this serpent head moves its way out of the hole. Like I said, now that it's in the light of day, it looks like a dragon, but again, stone seems to be in the place of its scales. And as they look terrified, none of them dare breathe. And then a growl, not from the monster, but from the dog. Gahena quickly grabs the muzzle of the dog. Shut up. Ultimately, she is a good girl, so she will listen. But indeed, that does catch the attention of this rock dragon creature. But as it looks, its attention is just as quickly snatched. It seems to sniff the air. It looks out at the sunlight and it begins to swell, grow in the warmth of the day. Is this the first time this creature has been out? In how long? And just like that, it begins to spread its wings. And it flaps a bit, but at this stage, those wings aren't really doing much. Instead, it just boldly starts climbing up the ridge where this pool is and slowly makes its way over and off to who knows where. The miners are looking as this thing's tail disappears over the ridge and away. And in their minds, they're thinking, what did we just unleash? But for Gahena, that's not a thought in her mind. The only thing that she's thinking about is Tristan. Poor Tristan, he was such a good chap. Like, you know, he could have, I don't know, become a traitor or whatever, but just how things rolled out. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so we're going to leave it there for now. We've just unleashed a dragon or something into the world. I don't even know if that's a normal thing in this Iron Land, at least this Iron Land that we're creating. But again, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this, again, like, subscribe, all those sort of things. And I hope that you will see me again in the future sometime. Good night.